next guest is, well, he acts a granite-hard Scots actor who was revered for his performances on Broadway and the West End long before Hollywood called. Now he's the star of countless movies, bringing badly needed integrity to blockbusters such as Troy, X-Men 2, Braveheart. When we first met in 1985, he revealed how he struggled with an Irish accent in the play Rat in the Skull.
There's lots to remember, obviously. Lots.
Stacks to remember. I mean, it's
just you on stage all the time?
Well, no, there's the four of us, but I have a kind of 45-minute monologue.
And you do it in the Northern Ireland accent?
Yes, I do.
Let's hear your Northern Ireland accent.
Well, I'm Scots, although I'm Scots-Irish. I'm what is probably known as a Mick-Mac. And so I had to train. I had a woman who helped me, and I also went over to Northern Ireland and learnt the accent. I'm actually avoiding, as you can see, doing the accent now,
yes,
because I find it very difficult.
Very true, yeah.
He plucked up the courage to come back. He might even give us a blast of that accent tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Brian Cox.
Brian, your program is very cruel.
Well, tell me about it. I have to look at myself every time I do it.
Every time you do it, that must be murder.
It is murder, because the years have been very kind to me.
They have.
And look at you. There isn't a pick on you. Have you lost a lot of weight?
I have, yeah. I'm diabetic, and I had to go on a special diet to lose weight.
Yeah.
Because, the good life was catching up with me.
That was your son, of course, in that clip we showed.
That was my son, yeah.
And now, can you do an Irish accent?
Yeah, well, I'm actually just playing an Irishman in Deadwood.
Of course, you're in that as well.
I'm in that as well.
Is there anything you're not in?
No.
Since we met here, could you have anticipated the sort of Hollywood stardom that's come your way?
Absolutely not.
So, what happened? How did it happen?
I don't know. I think it helps when you're written off.
Well, who wrote you off?
Oh, I was written off a lot. People said, "Oh, well, his time is over. His time is over," and that's a very good thing because it spurs you on. And I think it's persistence more than anything else.
But I mean, I've seen you in so many things that, as we said, you give credibility to what is not sometimes the greatest of acting around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. Not specifically, but X-Men 2. What was that like to appear in?
It was a great gig. I mean, there were very good actors in that. There was Ciarán McKellen and Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman. I mean, they're wonderful actors. And quite a lot of them are theatrically based. And also, the great thing about X-Men 2 is the women. Halle Berry, Famke Janssen. Yeah. I mean, they're the most beautiful women. And it's worth doing the job just for that, just being in the dressing room.
So it isn't the money, then?
No, it's nothing to do with the money.
You told me it took a while to do the makeup.
Rebecca used to have to be called at 2 o'clock in the morning. And she would actually be called at 2 o'clock in the morning to put all that blue makeup on.
How long would that take?
She'd be there till 10 o'clock the next morning getting the makeup on. So it would take about 6 hours.
And then take it off before she goes to bed and then get up again for 2
Yeah,
o'clock?
it seems pointless, doesn't it, really, when you think about it? Yeah, she does.
There isn't the kind of snobbery anymore, is there, but the kind of movies or TV that you appear in?
No, you try. I mean, my rule of thumb is you try and do certain things in order to do other things. You're subsidizing yourself all the time. So you do stuff like X-Men or Troy or what have you, those big movies. And then they subsidize the fact that you might want to go back into the theater and play in the theater for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And that's the great thing about it. One sort of feeds the other. So in a sense, you're not too bothered about that. And it's a great way to do it because actually you do make money on those big films. And also the independent films. I love the independent films. But you couldn't afford to do the independent films unless you do the big ones.
Where'd you get the shoes?
Oh, did you like them? I got these are freebies. I
was wondering why you'd be wearing them.
There's a thing called dress to kilt, which is it's where a lot of Scottish people in New York get on a runway and wear a kilt. And they gave me these shoes.
What, and the wind blows up the...
Absolutely. In fact, my son and I went on there and we disgraced ourselves.
Now, a lot of people don't know that you played the first Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I talked about it,
There you are.
There you are. I always think that looks more like my son than it does me. I was doing this play, Rat in the Skull, ironically, in America, and I was asked to audition by this very eccentric casting woman called Bonnie Timmerman, and she said, would you come and audition for this role? And I said, sure. And she'd seen me in the play, so I went along, and now, normally it's a camera, you sit down.
Yeah.
So she said to me, the first thing she said to me, she said, could you turn your back to the camera, please? I said, what? She said, I don't want to see your face. I said, but I'm auditioning for this role. She said, no, please, if you could just turn away. And I said, why? She said, because when I saw you in the theatre, I couldn't see you. I was sitting in a very bad seat. I could just hear your voice. And I want the director just to hear your voice before he sees you. So I think that was the reason I got the job. So I actually, and in fact, you don't see it, but my first entrance in this film is I've got my back to the camera.
Look, we have actually a clip from it.
All right.
Manhunter, 1986.
My dear Will, if this pilgrim imagines he has a relationship with the moon, he might go outside to look at it. Have you ever seen blood in the moonlight? Well, it appears quite black. If one were nude, it would be better to have privacy for this sort of thing.
That's interesting.
No, it's not. You thought of it before.
I considered it.
You came here to look at me, to get the old scent back again, didn't you?
I want your opinion.
I don't have one right now.
Well, when you have one, I'd like to hear it.
Can I keep this?
I haven't decided yet.
I'll study them. When you get more files, I'd like to see them too. You can call me when I have to call my lawyer. They bring me a telephone. Would you like to leave me your home phone number?
No.
Do you know how you caught me, Will?
Goodbye, Dr. Lecter. You can leave messages for me at the number on
You
your
know
file.
how you caught me? The reason you caught me, Will, is because you're just alike. You want the scent? Smell yourself.
Are you a bit like that in the privacy of your own home?
Absolutely. No, I'm not. I'm nothing like that. I'm too much of a wuss. These guys are scary. I mean, they're really scary.
Yeah, yes. Were you a bit disappointed when Anthony Hopkins got the role for Silence of the Lambs?
Only the money. That was the only thing I was disappointed about, that I lost out on the money. No, I mean, it's a question that people kind of ask me a lot, how do you feel about Anthony Hopkins? And it's a very different performance. And I feel that Hannibal Lecter is one of these iconic characters. Ironically, the spelling is different, because the name, they had a big row about the name, because somebody actually owned the name Hannibal Lecter. So when they wrote Silence of the Lambs, they changed the name of the character until they settled out of court, and then they got the name Hannibal Lecter back, and Tony played it.
Yeah. Does it get up your nose a bit that an actor of your standing, you'll appear on something like Troy, and I'm not trying to find out how much you got paid for it, but compared to the kind of bucks that Brad Pitt would have got
Absolutely.
for being Achilles,
Yeah.
I mean, you were better as Agamemnon, in my opinion, but there you
That's
are.
very nice.
So,
Thank you,
I mean, does it get up your nose that they get so much money?
Well, the thing about people like Brad and those guys is that they have such a lifestyle. It's so tough for them. That's what people don't realize. That they're these kind of iconic figures, and it's very hard to live like that on a day-to-day basis because they're never out of the public eye. And also on that movie, he worked really, really hard. If he wasn't in one unit, we had two units. We had Unit 1 and Unit 2. And so when Unit 1 was shooting, Unit 2 would be doing battle stuff. And Brad worked every single day. I mean, there wasn't a day that he didn't work on the movie. So I don't know whether he earned his 20 million, whatever it is he was getting paid, but he certainly worked very hard. Yeah, and I think the life, I think for me, the great thing to be in movies is just playing supporting roles in movies is great because you don't have that kind of spotlight, which I think would be too much, quite frankly.
Yeah. Now, at the moment, you've got a tremendously busy release schedule. Do you get back to Scotland or wherever your home is here at all?
I have a home in London, but as I get older, I don't know if it's the same for you going back to Ireland, but I love going back to Scotland, and I try to go back as much as I can. Yeah. And I spend quite a lot. I've got a big birthday coming up, and so we're going to have a big do in Scotland in July.
That's great. Look, it's been a great treat having you with us.
Thank you, Terry. I've always been. I tell you, your shows for me on the radio are the things I remember fondly when I'm in America. And they're just wonderful.
Very flattering and kind of you. Brian Cox, ladies and gentlemen. You can come back next week if you like.